Hello everyone and welcome to Sunup. I'm Lyndall Stout. 2014 is a milestone year, the 100th anniversary of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service. Throughout the year, we'll be bringing you stories of how Extension benefits the people of Oklahoma. One key area in agriculture is wheat, which really brings together the university, Extension, and research. We begin today with Sunup's Austin Moore.
When they sing of amber waves of grain, this is what they're talking about. A simple but powerful plant. Make no mistake, this crop has a powerful connection to those producing it. It draws them in generation.
If we hadn't have gotten some rain, we'd have had nothing.
After generation.
Hopefully I can keep it going and be passed down to my kids too.
After generation.
As far as I can do it profitably, I'd like to do it forever.
After generation.
I want to run the combine.
Zach will all run the combine.
Oh.
It's in your blood. It's in your blood. My youngest son is farming where I grew up in Harper County. He has lived to farm ever since he was a little boy. And now we have an opportunity to do that. So it's just in your blood, and it's something that I'm willing to gamble on, I guess is the word you want to use.
But a team of scientists and educators at Oklahoma State University work year-round to reduce the risks involved and maximize the opportunities.
Our wheat improvement team at OSU is unique in that everyone participates and has input on our experimental lines and advanced experimental lines before they are released to the public. Entomologists, plant pathologists, agronomists, and then we all participate after the wheat lines, wheat varieties are released in making sure that they are continuing to live up to the expectations and standards that we have here in Oklahoma for our farmers.
Brett Carver is the team's wheat breeder, and quite possibly one of the biggest champions you'll ever meet for this resilient grass.
Oh, it's unbelievably cool because it is so flexible and so nimble. It can respond to so many different environmental conditions. It must be able to do that because it's out here in nature for what, almost 8 months, 9 months, especially in this part of the country where we really put it to the test and we get the most out of it in terms of a vegetative plant and a reproductive plant.
So yes, this is a plant that will do okay for itself if left alone. But okay isn't where Carver and the wheat improvement team are aiming.
So you have that floor level of adaptation. It will survive, but if you really want it to thrive, and there's a difference there, you have to treat it right. And wheat will respond if you treat it right. And treat it right means the right management protocol for the right goal that you're trying to set.
And those goals are important to understand because unlike most crops where a single harvest is the objective, wheat in Oklahoma tends to deliver twice.
You really can't get too specific when you talk about Oklahoma because just looking at the rainfall patterns is quite different from one end of the state to the other. But we still want a plant that's adapted to our state. And so therefore we must breed that plant and test it for how it fits to the conditions across our state. But there's one common thread to all those environments that we try to incorporate into our selection, into our breeding program, and that is this management that we call dual purpose because, as you know, wheat in Oklahoma is grown for two purposes, to graze and to consume for the grain.
Dual purpose wheat is very important to the state of Oklahoma, and it's important to the cattle industry in the U.S. in general. We have the cow-calf operators and the feedlots, and somebody has to serve as a buffer between those two because we can't handle all of the cattle going into the feedlot at once, and wheat pasture fits that bill. In Oklahoma, we'll grow about 5 to 5.5 million acres of wheat every year, and roughly half of that at some point will be grazed by cattle. Now, that's a fairly unique system. They do it a little bit in Australia, a little bit in the Mediterranean countries, but in the U.S. it's primarily restricted to the southern Great Plains, so the southern part of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. The reason it works well here and not in other wheat producing regions within the U.S. is that we have few days where our ground is snow covered during the winter. so the cattle can actually access the forage. We have a favorable environment for growth during the winter. We get cold and we'll have cold spells, but we also have some warm spells during the winter. Wheat will generally grow anytime the temperature is above 32. Now, it may not grow quickly, but it will grow when the temperature is above 32 degrees. So we can graze and regrow some of that forage production potential.
Usually in the fall, Oklahoma is a net importer of cattle. And when you think about how many cattle are usually produced here, that surprises some people. But we're bringing in cattle from, a lot of cattle from southeast United States to bring them here to graze this in the winter. Now that doesn't come for free. We got to put more fertilizer, we got to put more seed down. We have to plant this wheat earlier, and we're going to give up some yield usually for doing that. But when we look at the economics, it pays to do exactly that. We can turn a nice profit on stocker calves most years.
Of course, the breeding program goes well beyond the traits important to dual purpose. It also considers yield, drought tolerance, and disease resistance, among other traits. This is not a short process. It can take dozens of years for one of the few varieties that actually gets released to work its way through this pure line system.
In other words, a variety that you can grow the plants this year, grow the progeny next year, and it will be the same variety, genetically speaking. That is what we call a pure line variety. It breeds true. But these pure line varieties are being developed using the natural reproductive system in wheat. We just call that a conventional breeding program. There is no genetically modified techniques incorporated into the varieties that are being grown today or those that will be grown in the immediate future.
And all with the goal of keeping cattle grazing and combines running with the best yields Mother Nature will allow for generations to come.
We thrive as long as agriculture thrives. And agriculture will thrive only if we can keep up with Mother Nature, we can keep up with our own population. And the only way you're going to do that is to make plants like this grow better and be more productive, because they're going to have to do it under less land eventually.
For Sunup, I'm Austin Moore.